I can say great second half. One of our better halves this season, 22-0 run. Finally find our energy and turn the game around. And got a good victory before we go on the road.
Penny, you said a difference of 2 halves, but it's a difference of like 7 minutes. From 1 minute down in the first half, you were down 11, to 6 minutes left into the second half, you were up 11. Other than the turnovers, why the sudden change in that?
Well, we started pressing. We went back to our old ways to speed the game up and make teams feel uncomfortable, and it worked. We got the right group on the floor, and they were all committed to just doing whatever it took to just make everything hard for them, and that was Memphis basketball in that segment.
It felt like, Penny, that Alo was sort of at the heart of it, that those 2 steals that he had sort of triggered the whole thing. Was this an example of how the impact he has on a game? Yeah,
for sure. I mean, everybody always talks about his offense, but he's, to me, the best defensive guard in the country. I think he was second in the nation, but these 7 steals a day probably could go to first. I mean, his value is not going to ever be diminished in our eyes because he just he makes so many winning plays where someone could say, well, he's not scoring, but he's not going to allow his man to score. And those plays that he made are huge plays that I know that he can make at any time while he's out on the floor.
Coach, what did you say to these guys to make them turn up a notch for the second half?
I just challenged them because we had no energy. I'm looking at the gang while we're sitting down, and they're all looking in 5 different directions, and that's not us. We're always connected, and it just seems like something is happening now with the team to where they're not staying locked in and connected for the entire 40 minutes. And at halftime, I just challenged them on just getting their focus back, and playing basketball the way that we know how.
Penny, I know you talked about kind of shortening the rotation throughout this week. I think 6 minutes in, you'd already played 9 guys. Mm-hmm. What's that process like of trying to press the right buttons, find the right combination?
Well, I think, after I left Tulane, my rotation was going to be really short. Then we had those 4 days of practice in a row, and I kind of started to say, all right, we've gotten some new things going. I'm going to give these guys another chance. But basically, the guys who are in tune with what we're doing are going to be the guys on the floor. We want to play more guys, but sometimes when you put the wrong group out there and everybody's not in tune, like today to me was our starters early. They started off good, and then they lost focus, and it became a struggle. But our strength is our numbers. The way that we started pressing, we needed to sub a little bit more. But, man, I'd rather be the guy that the strength in numbers and then getting after people, making everything hard.
Is it hard to kind of keep guys engaged, especially defensively, when they're not getting the minutes they might want or the shots they might want?
Well, I mean, this is basketball. It's a team. If it was individual, they can play some golf or something. If it's got to be about them, then they have the wrong sport. It's got to be about the team. And I know that's how people think, though, just what you said. If it's not about them, then I'm not going to play this way. And sometimes you lose games by those type of mindsets being on the floor.
Playing the production of KO today, he stepped it up a notch in the second half.
Yeah, well, KO, in the games where they have true bigs, KO has been a force down there in the paint. And not to take anything away from him, he's always going to block shots. And I'm proud of him because he works his butt off. And when he gets rewarded, with good play, I like that.
You said in your opening statement that was Memphis basketball, and I swear I saw at some point during that 22-0 run you even kind of like said that out loud as you were pumping your fist. Mm-hmm. I want to say it was after like a DeMaurier steal, and he fed it ahead to KD, and he finished it.
Yep.
Did I read your?
Yeah, for sure. We have to get to the energy. It's just, we have so much, so many older guys on the team. Everybody's coming from their program. They were scorers. So it's harder to get them revved up to play that way because it's like, hey, we never have to play that way. When we get down, then we're forced to play that way, and it's what we're used to here. And it hadn't been that way every game. The times that we've done that, at St. Louis, we got back into the game. Every time in Orlando that we got down against South Florida, great basketball, we never really got to it in Tulane. So it's like that's the style, that's who we are, and guys just have to buy into that fully.
Yeah, it just really looked like you were feeling good, like as good as you felt in a while.
Yeah,
maybe
for
in that
sure.
moment.
Because the South Florida game was discouraging, even though we won at the end. But I got some hope at the last 4 minutes, and then to go to Tulane and lay an egg, man, we didn't compete at all. And then to come back this game and get down at half, it was we weren't playing our style. And then once we got to it, then that's who we are.
Penny, over here. The things you talked about on Friday when you were talking about chemistry and whatnot, are those the exact same things that you're telling them as well? Or are you kind of picking and choosing what you're telling them versus, what you're putting out there just to kind of
No, I'm
reiterate the
challenging.
message?
Yeah, I'm sorry for interrupting, but I'm challenging them on getting to this team that we had in the second half. Everybody's thinking offense, but it's not offense. What's going to start our offense is our defense. And that's what happened in that segment where we went on a 22-0 run. That's all defense. That was nothing to do with offense. That was getting steals, getting out on the fast break, getting easy looks.
Penny, obviously for the entire first half, almost, and a few minutes into the second half, the body language looked bad, right? What are you telling them to kind of get their heads up, their chests out, and kind of flip that? And how do you hope this last 13 minutes can carry forward for you?
Well, I'm saying in the huddle is think about us. It's not just about you. How you feel affects the next person next to you. And then the energy gets off. If it's 2 or 3 guys and they're just worried about what they're getting and what they're not getting, that throws the energy off. So I'm in the huddle just talking to them about staying positive and really caring about the next guy that's next to you.
What's the status of Malcolm Dandridge?
I think Malcolm has at least another week. He's another guy that out on the floor understands what we're trying to do. So, it'd be good to get him back within the next week.
I know you're a big game plan guy, but when East Carolina come and do something that they normally don't do and hit the three, how hard is it to stay with the game plan while making tweaks to it to get them off of what they don't normally do?
Well, that's one thing about coaching that I've always understood. You start off with a game plan. If it's not working, then I will definitely scrap that game plan and go into something totally different. We're prepared to do that, and that's what I did tonight.
Penny, big opportunity on Wednesday down in Orlando.
Mm-hmm.
So how quickly do you start looking ahead to that? I mean, now that this is over, I would assume it's pretty immediate.
Yeah, it's right now, honestly, for me. As soon as I go home, I'll watch. I've watched enough games on them this year. They're playing really good basketball. They're very hungry right now. So I'll go home and watch their latest game and just dissect what they do, come up with the game plan, and try to take them out of their things when we go there.
Is that kind of like a welcome surprise? I don't know if surprise is the right word, but like going into this, we thought Houston might be the only like quad one type game you'd get in conference, but now obviously you get kind of this unexpected chance.
Yeah, I'm happy for our conference because we do need more respect, and there's better teams than what the nation wants to give us credit for. And UCF being one of those better teams, that's great because I think Cincinnati is the same way. Houston, us. I'm not just Tulane. These teams are good. It's not like these other teams are horrible, but we do have teams that can compete. So to see that, I think that's great.
It felt like, Penny, with this team that, in contrast to some others, they were locked in from the start for the non-conference games. Like, we saw the cohesiveness right off the bat. At halftime, people were like, what the hell happened to that team that we saw? Are you confident that team's back after the second half? And what did happen?
I'm not confident that it's back yet. I still have some work to do. But what happened was more bodies. We got DeMarie eligible. Keontae came back from injury. And then now it's a different focus than what it was.
Coach in the back, you talked about them being a different team. Is there a level, do you feel like, of, hey, we knew we had to lock it in the non-conference, and then do you feel like your team maybe relaxed a little bit coming into conference, even though you do have to respect, everybody who plays here?
I can say that's half of it. The other half is I kind of played the guys early that I trusted, the guys that were part of that NIT championship team, the guys that were second round of the NCAA, all those guys before Malcolm went out, those were the guys that I were playing, Malcolm, Jaden, Alo, DeAndre, we added Kendrick, Chandler. Those are guys that have been around, so they kind of know each other better. The more we started to add the other guys, like Elijah McCadden's minutes went up, DeMarie came back, Elijah came back, and those guys are out on the floor, then it's a different type of chemistry right now that we just got to fix.
Penny, kind of a follow-up from what I asked earlier and what you just said. I guess what's stopping you from really tightening that rotation and saying, okay, these are the 6-7 guys that worked for us in non-conference. I'm going to play them and, sprinkle other guys in 5-7 minutes here and there?
Because I really want to pressure. I want to play guys, but, if it gets to that, it will. It just hadn't. It's almost to that point. If we can't fix it, then I got to go with what I know. I got to go with the guys that I know. But the way that we want to play, we do need to strengthen numbers because it showed in the second half. We subbed, and then the guys came in and did a phenomenal job in that 22-0 run.